Hi everyone, doing something a little bit different today. So I thought I'd do a little bit of a beginner's guide just to collecting retro toys and games. There's a lot of guides out there that are quite specific, but just wanted to kind of jump in on what I've done in the past and how you could start your collection as well if you're thinking about getting into it. So I'll go through and give you kind of 5 points that I think is the most important thing when you're starting out. But probably the most important thing to know is there's no right or wrong way to collect. The collections are all personal to you and nobody should tell you how to do it. Okay, so tip number one is collect what you love. If you're just starting out, the best advice I can give you is to just start with something that you love or have at least an interest in. Don't start out by focusing on items that are worth the most money or anything like that. Something needs to be personal to you or gives you at least a bit of nostalgia. My first two collections since starting Geeky Gorovin were Monster in My Pocket toys and the game Cool Spot. Both of these brought me that kind of happy, nostalgic feeling when I thought about them. But how I collected them were very different. So with the Monsters in My Pocket, I set a goal of owning one of each type, rather than being like the kind of hardcore collector that I need each variance of all the different colour variants and all the prototypes and stuff like that. All I wanted was one of each, just so that I had the collection, and then I'd be happy with that. Then when it came to the Cool Spot game, I wanted to see if I could get each video game on each platform that it was released on. So yeah, that's the kind of two kind of contrasting sides. So you can make it up however you kind of want to do it. It's all kind of personal to you, and as long as you're happy, that's all that matters. So tip number two is to avoid toxic communities. So unfortunately, there are quite a lot of hardcore collector groups out there, and they're so toxic. Um, if you don't collect the way that they want you to collect, or if you're new, they like to gatekeep, and it can just put you off collecting altogether. So my advice would be just avoid these like the plague. Um, I've been in a couple of the groups in the past when I was starting out, and yeah, it's not good to be in there whatsoever. I actually plan on creating a Facebook group just to kind of show off your collections and to discuss them as well, and a kind of nice environment that you don't need to think about someone giving you aggro. So if that's of interest to you, just look up Geeky Gorovin on Facebook, and you can join there. So tip number three, it might seem obvious, but look for bundles. So where possible, just be on the lookout for job lots. I've managed to get so many items on my collection kind of ticked off just by collections on eBay or local pickups like Gumtree and Facebook Marketplace. Um, it's important to just look at the mixed lots on eBay and stuff as well. A lot of times I've just found random pieces that were quite hard to find that were just in a job lot of random toys or games. And that's saved me a headache, and they've been lucky finds. But if you've got the time, just kind of have a wee look through eBay. That would be my advice on getting some of the harder stuff, or at least starting your collection with a bundle. So tip number four is keep an inventory. I've been guilty of this in the past, but when you're collecting, you need to make sure that you keep track of everything that you've got, just so that you don't end up with doublers. Um, the way I go about it now is just starting a new Excel sheet. So the first column, I just list everything that I want to have in my collection, and then I've got two columns next to it. So the next one is just a tick that if I've got it in my collection or not, and then the last column is how much I've paid for it as well. Just I like to keep track of how much I've spent on my collection as well. And then literally as soon as you get it, make it a priority to go on and give that a tick. If you have ordered it online though, I would always wait until I have it in my hand before I tick it off on my sheet. I've done that before in the past. I've got ahead of myself and ticked them and they've got lost in the post or something like that as well. Then tip number five is be patient. So it can be quite difficult especially when you're excited about finishing your collection. But sometimes it can take years for your collection to be complete. I had the same thing with the Monster of My Pocket, the wrestling series. I had one figure that I had been waiting for probably about 8 months for, and it was my last figure that I needed. But it felt a lot better when I finally got it. So yeah, just don't pay over the odds for something just because it's the last thing on your list as well, because it'll make you resent the collection as well. So that's my last tip for you. Well, I hope these have been helpful for you. If you've got any more tips that you'd like to share, please pop them in the comments. I'm sure everyone would like to read them. Thanks.